Wow, Abby, this was a really fun episode. I'm wearing a shirt that has mushrooms on it, and
How apt.
Katie took it there, and we ended up talking about substances and using mushrooms to do journeys and ceremonies. How was that for you?
Oh, I loved listening to it. I mean, I'm of a different generation where now my generation is exploring kind of this new wave of plant medicine and what it means to be in ceremony with plants. But just listening to these stories of, these intentional journeys and ceremonies that you and Katie have taken in your lives and feeling that sense of surrender was really such a beautiful experience of listening to the conversation. And I have to tell you, oh, when you said you are a gorgeous pear tree, my whole body lit up with love. Like, oh, yeah, I want to be a gorgeous pear tree and to experience that.
Oh my God, this was such a deep, I mean, that's the episode, how we were just both talking about how it opened our hearts even
Mhm.
deeper and more beautifully and every day I think about being a beautiful pear tree. So that was a
Oh,
beautiful gift. Well, this is an unusual experience and episode we had today. So I hope you guys have fun as much as we did doing it, listening to it.
yeah. Can't wait. Let's dig in.
Well, hello, my Katie.
Hello. I'm really just appreciating all of your color today. And then I tune into it and I go, oh, you've got little mushrooms on your shirt.
I do. I
Uh,
do. I really like this shirt. It's full on. Like, look, it's
oh,
like,
yeah. And it's just, oh, it's so happy and growing and connecting. And it was reminding me of just yesterday, Gay was saying, I want mushroom soup, you know, 'cause
what
so
kind of mushroom soup are we talking?
well, I think in this one it would be the kinds of mushrooms that you could get at the store.
At the supermarket. Well, it's funny. I've been meaning to talk to you about something that's happened. It started about a couple years ago, but I've developed a relationship with mushrooms, and the kind that you don't buy at the supermarket.
Oh yes, those journey
The
mushrooms.
journey mushrooms, and I feel like it would be a really good conversation for us to have because it's in the air. A lot of people that are, I mean, it used to not be my people that are talking about it, and it's come into the zeitgeist more and more. And I feel like we should talk. I know you've experienced some journeys yourself, and I think it would be really fun to kind of take a just responsible, connected conversation around it.
Well, I don't know how responsible and connected I can be around it, but I will certainly do my best. But the whole subject of expanding consciousness,
Yes.
and humans have been involved with this as far back as we can tell.
Yes.
Even on the walls of in France, you'll find there's indicators of people having mind expanding journeys that
Mhm.
they're with natural substances and primarily mushrooms.
Yes. So for many, many years, I was involved in a meditation group, for lack of a better word, and it was a pretty strong, directed not to use substances.
Yeah.
So for many, many, many years, it was not even part of my world. I kind of agreed. It was like not something I do. And then a couple of years ago, my boo was invited to a mushroom ceremony for someone's birthday. And it was kind of not a plus one situation. Like it was really, she wanted this particular group. I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
So he went and he came back from it. And I had a moment of like, I want what he's having.
Uh-huh.
Because I was very, it was very tangible how more open. I mean, he's a very open guy, but more loving, more joyful, more. There was something more. And so they say that the mushrooms invite you.
Uh-huh.
And I started having a very different invitation around it. And at first I was like, I don't do drugs, blah, blah, blah. And first of all, it's not drugs, not certainly not drugs
Right.
that we understand drugs. And also, we do a lot of substances that are legal that are not so good for us, and so it shifted
Mhm.
somehow shifted for me. So I want to take a minute and tell you
Please, please,
where we
yes, of
went from
course.
there. Because I started opening up, the idea of doing it. And so he introduced me to some of the people that were there. And lo and behold, we decided to do a journey together. We invite the woman who was shamanic in nature, just trained to be around people that are, expanding their consciousnesses. And we did
Back
it.
in the day, we used to call that tripping.
Yes, tripping. And I want to go there too. Yeah. And so we do. We decide on a date. We go, and I muscle test. Like I have a
Mhm.
practice asking my body what it wants, and I had already set up with a lady that I was gonna decide how much. Like I'm not someone. I guess I used to be. I'm not someone that's gonna be like, "Right, give me the dose, like give me the whole. Like I really wanted to be subtle about the experience. I wanted to be very in tune with myself kind of experience. And we did. And one of the most beautiful thing that happened as I had some, not as many as other people. I muscle tested and my body was like 2 grams, like small amount. But I went outside. There was a beautiful house in Salinas, and I went outside, and they were pear trees and they were apple trees, and on both sides of an aisle. I
Mm.
stood there, and already you'll know that I was on mushrooms because I started talking to the trees. And one of the trees, which was the pear tree, said to me,
Mhm.
I am not an apple tree. I don't try to be an apple tree. I'm just a beautiful pear tree. Don't compare. I don't try to be something I'm not. I'm just this beautiful pear tree. And it was about 2 years ago. And I would say there was not many days, many weeks where it doesn't come up that I say to myself, you are a gorgeous pear tree.
But yes.
Because I find myself either comparing or
Uh-huh.
judging or doing something that's like not enough or whatever. And I just have this now visual deep experience around I'm just this beautiful that whatever I'm
Uh-huh.
not what I'm not. I'm just what I am. And it's beautiful.
And giving yourself love for what you are rather than letting it leak out. You're like, because I'm not like this, or I should be more like this. But celebrating yourself as a work of art.
And it's funny that you said leak because the experience is that it gave me like it closed my container, not in a closed way, but
Yeah, yeah.
in an integrity, like it kind of like sharpened the clarity of my container is one way
Oh,
that I would
I
describe
love
it.
that. And I love that you're using the word container because one of the things I notice in working with people is that so many people have leaky containers.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is like if I appreciate them, they might receive it and then it all leaks out.
Yes.
Or if they learn something, or they are like, for example, they have a no and they can feel that, but then the no gets wobbly
Yes.
and they can't count on it, or they make an agreement and then they forget the agreement. So
Yes.
having a container, it's like a foundation that your home, but it's your, it's also your cave, it's your fort, but your foundation for how you're going to go out into the world. So I love that you had that felt experience of a solid container.
It was really something to, because you're right. Yeah, not related to the mushrooms, but just in life in general, there really are moments where I went from something that I believed to be true that turned out not to be true, and it's no longer. It's like I behave differently. Like people talk about change as if like so difficult to change, and I'm always like, is it? Like, I mean, maybe, but is it easy to live a life that you don't like? As opposed to.
That's a good
Like this, the
question.
alternative is not that much easier.
But you're also challenging such a long held assumption, what I call an old story, which it's hard to change.
Yes,
And you have to work hard.
yes,
It's going to hurt and you're going to suffer.
yes.
And
And
when you
most
get
likely,
to,
it's not going to really work. It's not going to.
right,
Not going to. Right. Ah,
you'll backslide.
exactly. Yeah. So that experience was really profound. So I'm curious, like, to kind of like toss the ball to you. Like, what kind of experience did you have around mushrooms, and what was kind of did you have a moment similar that you can share with us, like a good story?
Well, the what I remember is running down a mountain that had cactus all over it. And I had an experience of almost soaring, but I didn't get hurt. And I didn't, it was as if I was the energy of the mountain.
Oh, wow.
And it allowed me to feel completely at home in the unknown. That was the big takeaway.
Oh,
It was that I could just launch myself, because of my um, difficulties, because my legs didn't work right when I was little, and I had my knee operated on, so I had this sort of hesitation about charging further, like on hiking and jumping and rock climbing and stuff. Didn't do any of that. I would do bicycles and things, but a free flow with nature, that was a really a life-changing experience of considering that going into the unknown could be not only safe but
it's fun.
fun, but also that that the world was not here to hurt me. Because I think part of our European heritage, those of us, who came to occupy the United States, came from that we have dominion over the world, because
Yeah.
that's the Old Testament view of, that you have dominion over the plants and animals, and it switched my whole thinking about that the world is this magnificent, magical, multi-layered, friendly place for me to explore. That was one of my experiences, and also everything was very funny.
Yes, there was definitely humor in all of it. The other thing, as you're speaking, that was very powerful for me, because I've only done journeys 3 or 4 times. Like I'm not like
Right.
some of my friends are doing it every weekend. It's like
Yeah, well, this one I'm telling you about was from 40 some years ago.
right, but look at how it stayed with you.
Exactly. Absolutely. So that's the thing. It changes you at a cellular level.
Yes,
So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to
it's
reconsider
gone.
it.
It's yes.
Yeah.
I remember, funny enough, being with Gay once, and we talked about it in the car, driving somewhere about his experiences, and I had not had one at the time. And I remember asking him, like, what was it for you? Like, why, like, what did you get that I couldn't get another way? Or,
Right.
and he shared with me about really, really feeling one
Mm.
with others, one with the universe, one with the planet, like just one, just this experience of connectivity with one another. And I remember thinking, I got that. Like I have that already. I feel one with things, blah, blah, blah. Then one of the journeys I did really gave me an embodied experience of that, as opposed to an
Yes.
intellectual one.
Exactly. Where we think we're connected.
Yes.
The experience of connection is way different.
It's a very different thing, and I don't know. I mean, I really would put myself in a description of someone who's really. I've worked my ass off on myself. Like I've done a lot
Absolutely.
of workshops and
I
read.
can confirm that.
Yes, I mean you've seen me all. I mean certainly as well for you, but we know we've. I've not been someone who's taken life, not seriously. Like I've really very very fun as well, but I work my stuff. Like when something is not fluid, I really I learn, I grow, I heal, I do the stuff. But there really was a point where I feel like the mushrooms were able to take me to a healing that I was not able to get to other ways. I really I'm happy to say it that way. Like I really feel like I bow to the mushrooms of sorts, because it did something cellular that I was never able to do with my intellectual
Yes.
conscious person.
Yes, that's my experience also, and that is a report of lots of people. And the other thing I was hearing as you were talking about this is the setting and the other people
Yes.
are also part of the experience of oneness.
Yeah.
And that was something that Gay and I were so aware of, the setting and the value of the setting.
Yeah.
For journeys, so way back when we got together in 1980. We could experiment and with substances like MDMA,
Mhm.
which then became a party drug. But back then, It was really a pure substance that created that kind of permanent change,
Yeah.
cellular level. But so much of it depended on who you were with,
Yes.
what your intention was. And so I'm there. I know now that they have whole trainings and for people to be sitting for. So there's been just a lot more acceptance, because after, I forget exactly when everything went underground, where everything went Schedule A and became illegal, and for years and years and years, which was such a shame, because these kinds of experiences are really the treatment of choice for so many really ingrained problems, particularly PTSD,
Yeah.
and
Traumas.
yeah, trauma, and also a deep sense of am I lovable? Am I, the experience you had of being, a work of art, and you're a very fine pear tree. So
Yeah.
most people don't have I'm a very fine anything,
No.
and so to have that without, I mean, you can get to it, through therapy and through a meditation, through other kinds of things. But this one, if you have the setting and the people and the music, and, is it's really life changing. And so you don't need to do it a lot.
No, no, and I'm not even saying everybody should do it necessarily, but I find it funny that you can go in a store and buy so much alcohol that you could kill yourself, but somehow mushrooms, which by the way you really cannot overdose from, you can trip for a while, but you won't, your body won't shut down, in that kind of way. But somehow that's not legal. I find very hypocritical. There really
It's
is.
really hypocritical, and also I think the connection between alcohol, particularly, is that people make a lot of money from.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And I know there's lots of movement to try to legalize substances as well. And definitely there's some states that have already gotten there. There was another moment in another journey that I did that was also, as you're speaking of this, like deep, like there was a before and after for me. Like I used to believe this and now I believe that very clearly. And I remember, as you know, my journey around my weight, and I used to be very, very heavy. And one of the journeys, I became my ankle bones. And I had this incredible
mm,
gratitude and just I don't even know the words. Like sometimes I find that words around all this limit
yeah,
the
you can't.
actual
Yeah, they
experience.
just point to it. They don't really. Yeah.
They point to the thing, they're not the thing. But I experienced such acknowledgement of how
Mm.
these little bones of my ankles carried such a heavy weight for so long and supported me somehow, even through such a not meant to be, like those bones are not meant to be carrying so much weight. I love that people are loving themselves at whatever weight. Like this is not a weight shaming, whatever. But for me, to be in these bones and to experience this, like, ooh, like how heavy was it to carry so much
Um,
weight, and just this reconnaissance is the word that I have in France. I
mm,
don't have it here because it's not recognition. It's more
it,
just gratitude, deep, deep, deep
deep
gratitude.
gratitude and recognition, and yeah, so all of that all combined, and that feeling of thankfulness,
Yes.
of gratitude, thankfulness, appreciation, that whole realm. So moving from complaining. So many people have a basic attitude toward life of like, "Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, this, I should not be having this experience. In fact, one of our students years ago is my favorite. He said, I didn't reincarnate for all this shit.
Well, apparently you did, because here you are.
Because here you are, but having the ground of your being be a flow of gratitude
Ugh.
is life changing. Everything changes from that lens. And the flow and the ease and having life come to you, and experiencing I'm here are all my allies and my partners, and here we are all together, and isn't it amazing? Life is amazing.
Yeah. Wow. How many conversations do people have celebrating what's beautiful about life as opposed to, it is one of the ways that people connect is often through complaining and agreeing on what we should complain about. And I really, I think this journey, this particular one of thankfulness, that's the word. But if you put things through the lens of thankfulness, it's almost like more goodness comes to you. Like the universe, nature, everything around you becomes like, oh, here's one who appreciates what we're doing of sorts, and just keeps.
And let's do that more. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. There was one of the other journeys I did was very impactful for me in the, almost more understanding of how much do we know that we don't know we know, or maybe we don't acknowledge that we know. There was a moment where it was that very first journey, and one of the substances that she was offering, my body was no. My body was like, I don't, it was mushroom mixed with ayahuasca. There was something about it that was very much like my body kept testing no. And she very kindly, which I guess she had never done with anyone else, she said, it's possible that I could take the substance on your behalf, because that particular substance had this quality of answering questions of life, just big, big questions. Like you would come to it with like, maybe what is my next, iteration of growth or something. And so she really wanted me to have the experience. And so she said, I feel really deeply connected to you. We could do it where I take it and then you ask questions. I was like, that sounds like a cool. And we did. And here's the thing that really to this day, like I can't really speak of it without a little bit of because my entire life, and I had never said it out loud by then, my entire life, I had this vision of myself with a really heavy suitcase. Is it because my body was so heavy? Is it because I feel like I come from a really long lineage of suffering? My family has a lot of commitment to pain and difficulties. And so, but I had this visual of myself almost like as a kid, like just dragging this really heavy suitcase. And so she takes the substance, like, now it's many years later. And I think about that suitcase quite often at the time. And we start this little moment of this ceremony. And she says, I'd love for you to ask questions. But before you ask me questions, she had already taken her substance. And she said, I'm coming with something for you that's a little unexpected, but I'm hearing that I should say to you, you're done with the suitcase. Do you know what that means? I know. That was my face.
Wow.
I literally went, I'm sorry, what did you just say? Like in my head, I'm thinking, did I speak of the suitcase yesterday? I know. She literally said, I am supposed to tell you that you are done with the suitcase. And I, of course, started sobbing and just like, oh my God, it was so profound. And so not only, and she was very clear, it was very clear to her that she literally described this like this little person carrying this really heavy suitcase, that it was really time to let it go. And I've been different. I've been really, truly different. I mean, it affected my weight, no question. That was kind of my second phase of losing a big chunk of weight right after that. But more importantly, it kind of tapped me into, do we know about each other or what? Like the wisdom. All she had to do was just be with herself, be quiet, be open to receiving some wisdom. And she just tapped into my own consciousness. Like how magical is that?
I think this is so valuable, what you're saying, that we are connected. And I think a lot of what goes on is just simply not being available.
Yeah.
I'm not available to receive that because I have experiences every day that where wisdom just comes in and suggests something or
Yes.
or says go this direction, and it can also be very practical. So I was just remembering when I left to I'm getting this story right. Since Gay broke his leg, I have been sleeping in the other room, when I go to bed, and I get the cats out of there so that Gay can sleep through. And I had done that. I'd come out and I'd close the door and I would come in and I had this little voice that said, Allie's still in the bedroom. It was just this little whisper that came. And so I went and I opened the door and she dashed out. So rather than having then, that she's banging on the door, or she wakes Gay up,
Yeah.
so even at a practical level, tuning into, what's the next choice, what's available, how can I be different? But what was occurring to me also was that just recently I've shifted a very old story that's kind of like you in your suitcase, that when I would tune in, there was a kind of a peasant carrying a very heavy load, like a yoke, and sort of this heaviness and going along. And I realized that that's disappeared,
Oh,
that I no longer have that
wow.
experience of myself at that fundamental level. So it's, the container in which we hold ourselves and how we think of ourselves can fundamentally shift. And it sounds like you did that simply by getting available to the information that was already there.
That's really beautiful. It's funny because when we started this call, we went on one route, but I was going to tell you, I feel like your energy is younger than it's ever been. And I've known you almost 20 some years now. So I've seen you younger. You feel younger than that. Like you just, I don't know if it's the peasant thing or the or what, but there is something that feels so vivacious about you right now and so vibrant. Like, is it possible? I think it is possible. I'm starting the sentence funny. I think it is very much what happens is that what we believe and how we hold ourselves internally affects how we look and how we feel and how our energy to this degree that we can literally go from feeling like everything is difficult and everything is going to be like a chore and a to something that really isn't. And if people knew, isn't that the most powerful thing that one can know?
Oh, it is so powerful. I think both you and I need, like, I would love it, as you're speaking, I'd love for people to be able to see a picture of you as you used to be, because they'll go, no,
Yeah,
that couldn't
yeah.
possibly have been her. And I actually can't use any of my PR pictures that are older than 10 years ago because
It's not you.
it's not me.
No.
And I look at it, I go, oh, actually, I go, oh, honey. I feel this sort of,
Like
like,
me and my ankle bones, this
yes.
feeling of like, oh, like
Oh,
you were there for me, but it ain't me anymore in some ways.
yeah. So that, and also for me, journeys, but also our experience of being open to life and interacting with life, we can keep expanding and changing and evolving lifelong. And that's actually my intention. I intend to keep expanding until I just expand out into the
You
universe.
just expand out and done. That's really nice. It's funny. I went to this weekend. I went to an event, but I don't even know. Don't ask me why I was there. But it was the Air Force was doing a concert, and I went to listen to this really serious concert, like very patriotic songs,
Oh, uh-huh.
and it was very. I was telling someone this morning. It was in some ways very moving.
Mm.
There were a lot of old people in the room that had themselves served, for the country. But I also have particular beliefs about the army and people deciding to go shoot other people and this whole thing. And so, but I'm going somewhere. I really I experienced this state of like, I don't really have to have such strong opinions one way or the other. Like I felt like nature. I felt like my tree. I felt like that pear tree that's like, I can really be here in a state of presence, in a state of this is what is. This is what is. Like I don't have to fight against it. I don't have to judge. I don't have to, and it was really lovely. It just gave me this sense of I don't I don't have to position myself against is what it felt like.
Yes, and also I think so many people get their energy from against.
Yes, they feel
The
alive.
push and the push pull and so you're getting your energy from flow and connection, and play rather than solid right wrong pushing against.
Yeah, and I don't think the world, I really don't think the world has to be wrong for me to feel right. I think things, I don't know if what I'm saying is taken away. I think there are things we should fight for. right?
Yes.
There are some
Oh,
things.
absolutely.
But I think we should know the difference. I think we should be deliberate because some people state a state of, it's like a state of fight against everything, including themselves, quite often, actually. But I'm wondering if there is as we're wrapping up, like this was an interesting conversation, like a little more kind of like, let's follow the rabbits wherever they
Right,
go.
exactly. We're going for a little visit in the forest.
It's exactly where the mushrooms are to wrap up the thing. I'm curious to like, do you think that since we kind of went the route of this mycelium and the mushrooms and how they connect us, do you think that having done it gives us something that we couldn't have gotten another way? Like, do you think
Yes,
it's something you do?
yes, absolutely.
You're
Yes,
absolutely certain.
yes. And it may not be the only way, but it sure is easy, friendly,
Mm-hmm.
and and the ease of recognizing this is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here in this, and I'm participating. So one of my long-term projects is to create a new kind of being with that's different than fight, because fight is fear, and
Yes.
we're perpetuating fear. So one of the things I've been playing with is engaging, joining with people, taking a stand for, countering. So I'm playing with things that, there are things that I know. How can I bring my no into action in
Mm-hmm.
a way that invites uh, a shift in the collective rather than opposition?
Yes. Yeah, doing it with you've said that before, this idea that like loving is being with. I've always really loved when you speak of that. But there's something about starting with ourselves with that. Like we're back to the self-love and the participating and collaborating with ourselves, accompanying ourselves. That's the word that comes
Oh,
to
I
mind.
love that, accompanying ourselves, because
Yeah.
I love that, and it reminds me of one of my favorite Ram Dass quotes: "Is we're all just walking each other home."
Yes. Oh, that's really beautiful. I love for us to finish with this. This is really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.